Now not only are the gathered spectators watching from a distance raising their voices in excitement, but also the adventurous passers-by. The Sword Princess. I guess, but it only takes a moment for me to realize who got them so excited. Long golden hair and silver armor. A single sheathed sword. The adventurer passes by before I can see her face through the small opening in the crowd I'm peering into, so all I can clearly see is the back of a girl about my height, her long hair shining like so much gold dust as she walks away. Could such a delicate girl really be part of the adventuring group? My eyes continue to follow the vividly shining golden hair walking among the experienced fighters as the heavily loaded group disappears down a side street that turns away from the main avenue. Sword Princess. Is she literally a princess? I repeat the name under my breath as I move forward after the crowd disperses. But I can't afford to be dazzled by the city's tourist attractions forever. Now that I've arrived, the first priority is finding a place to stay. It's a basic fact of travel. Or at least that's what people in my village told me. I start looking for a cheap inn, keeping my head on a swivel and occasionally working up the courage to ask passing strangers for recommendations. The money I carry is all that was left in my grandfather's house after he died, and it's all I have, so I can't spend it carelessly. Reaching the city center, I enter a large, spacious square centered around a white alabaster tower, the entrance to the dungeon. I stop in front of it briefly before heading to the eastern part of the city, where I hear the inns are concentrated. The wider avenues are dense with chic red brick hotels, but the establishment I enter is one of the wooden buildings on a poorer street. It's a small, comfortable two-story room with the word INN scrawled on the sign. I don't want to be rude. But it definitely looks like a cheap place to stay. Excuse me. I say as I open the creaking door. A middle-aged human being behind the counter looks up from the pamphlet he is reading. Looking for a room? Yes. I would like to stay for a short while, 800 valis a night. No meals. 800 valis. How expensive is this place? This is not even close to what I had in mind. From what people in my village said about their trips to the local markets, I expected to pay maybe 200 or 300 valis at most, but I guess that's what you can expect in Orario. After all, they don't call it the center of the world for nothing. What I'll do? Just getting a room will take a lot of my money, but I don't think other guesthouses will be much cheaper. If you stay 3 nights, that's 2,000 valis. If you don't like it, the door is right there. I accept the innkeeper's offer of a better price if I pay for 3 nights in advance. I'll take it, please. Huh. He looks up from the news pamphlet he's unsociably reading and looks at me. I add, thank you very much, as he looks at me curiously. With that, the innkeeper shifts uncomfortably in his seat. Right thing, he says, returning to his reading. I grab the key as he slides it across the counter and run up to my room. A room with lock and key. This is city life. There was nothing like this in my grandfather's house. The room is furnished with a bed and not much else, but it is more than enough for me. Getting a bargain plus ensuring I'll have a place to stay for 3 days definitely improved my mood. I decide to go straight back to town, so I leave all my belongings except my money in my room and head downstairs. Thank you, I will be back. I shout toward the front counter as I exit the inn. There's no response from the grumpy innkeeper, but I don't pay attention as I pick up speed after reaching the cobblestone street. I know that to become the adventurer I want to be in both name and reality, I first have to join a family and then register with the guild headquarters. But before that, there is something else I want to do. There is a place I promised myself I would visit when I finally reached Orario. After asking for directions, I discover that my destination is nearby, in the southeast part of the city. Some people warn me about the deadless street slums that are apparently nearby, but I have no problems before reaching my destination. It is a cemetery full of countless graves. This is a public cemetery in Orario called the First Cemetery, also known as the Adventurer's Cemetery, the final resting place for those who fall into the dungeon. There is no one else present in the spacious area where I emerge after taking a long flight of stairs that lead to a side street. Muttering in surprise at the large number of white tombstones, I head downtown. Eventually, a giant jet-black monument appears. It is noticeably different from the other markers, because this is a memorial dedicated to the heroes of ancient times. That's it. My eyes widen when I see the 5-meter-tall monument. Dungeon Oratoria was like scripture to me when I was a kid. It is a miraculous tale of heroism, a historical account told from the very soil of Ororio. The great heroes who appear in its pages risked their lives to turn back the tide of monsters that flowed ceaselessly from the underworld, and it is before the grave of those heroes I have idolized for so long that I now stand. Names of stories that I know by heart are carved into the black stone. It feels like my body has been set on fire as my gaze passes over each name. For some reason, I find myself on the verge of tears. Dozens of flowers were left at the foot of the monument. Even now, these great heroes still receive gestures of respect and admiration from the people. Having brought nothing but myself, I lower my head in my lack of forethought, before straightening up and closing my eyes. From now on, I am also an adventurer from Ororio. I may never be able to become a true hero, but maybe I can just get a little closer to the world these legends inhabited. I make my silent wish as the clear blue sky watches over me. The next day, I begin my search for a family to join. Status is another word for the blessing of receiving a fauna from a faction's patron god. Without one, you cannot call yourself an adventurer in Labyrinth City. I muster all the energy and determination I can before reporting to the base of one of the city's many families, marked by their unique emblems. Or that was my original plan anyway. Rejected again. It's late. I stop to rest in a crescent-shaped square that faces a busy avenue. 10 consecutive failures call for a break. I sit on a stone curb, my head hanging glumly. Clearly, it's not as simple as just wanting to join a family. In contrast to my fiery determination, the reception I received from every family I visited was incredibly cold. Most of them rejected me at first sight. Aside from obviously coming from the countryside, the only occupation I can really claim to have any real experience in is farming. And I'm showing up completely empty-handed, without a single weapon to my name. Everything about me screams, peasant. There is no single reason any family would consider me an attractive recruit. If I had been someone more accustomed to hard labor, or had experience as a blacksmith or some other type of craftsman, I might have been treated differently. Race probably has something to do with it too. As I was walking away from my 10th rejection, I passed an elf who came to meet the family that just rejected me. They welcomed him with open arms. I really feel the barriers of race in the turned backs and sneering faces I encounter at seemingly every door. I've heard before that humans and Prum are generally looked down upon as potential adventurers when compared to other races. It's no surprise that fierce Amazons or highly perceptive beasts get better treatment, to say nothing of the graceful, magically attuned elves or powerfully built dwarves, who are strong enough to take on the monsters on the lower levels even without divine blessings. Perhaps a completely average human like me has little to be proud of. No, the problem probably lies specifically with me, a country boy who can't even hide how much of a redneck I am. GH. After sighing again for the umpteenth time, I slap my cheeks and look up. There's no point in feeling sorry for myself. If I have enough energy for that, I will have enough energy to find a family that will let me join their ranks. I've asked around a bit, and it seems like most well-established families aren't accepting new members. I should be looking for one that is more promising, with a somewhat reduced group of adventurers. To fill my empty belly, I buy some potato puffs from a nearby stall with the curious name of Jayaga Maru Kuan. They only cost 30 valis, for which my coin purse is grateful. They are quite full too. As I struggle with an inexplicable feeling that I'll be seeing a lot more of this food stall in the future, I dive back into the busy streets of Ororio more determined than ever. Then, 2 days later.